Imagine a single dot representing $1 million. Now picture 10 of those dots, then 100, then 1,000. At that scale, numbers stop feeling real. They become impossible to grasp. Yet there are people walking this planet whose net worth stretches far beyond those figures. People who built companies, created products, and accumulated more money than most of us could spend in several lifetimes. And then there is the average person. Maybe you're working a job you don't love. Maybe you're studying for a degree because you were told it would lead to security. Maybe your rent keeps rising faster than your paycheck. Maybe you're carrying debt. Maybe you're saving what you can, only to watch unexpected expenses erase months of progress. When you compare your situation to the lives of the ultra-wealthy, it can feel hopeless. You start telling yourself stories. They were lucky. They had connections. They were born rich. They cheated. The system is rigged. And eventually those stories become beliefs. The dream house becomes a fantasy. The freedom to travel becomes a fantasy. Financial independence becomes a fantasy. You stop asking how and start assuming it is impossible. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if wealth follows patterns? What if there are principles behind it? What if there is a way to understand money that most people never learn? This video is about that idea. Not a get-rich-quick scheme, not a magic investment, not a secret shortcut, just a different way of seeing the game. A perspective that changes everything. And fair warning, the path is difficult. It demands responsibility. It demands patience. It demands that you question things you've believed for years. Most people won't do that. But those who will may discover something incredibly valuable. Money was never the destination. Freedom was. Part 1. The stories you were taught. Let's start with a simple question. What do you believe about money? Seriously, take a moment and think about it. Do you see it as something earned? Something inherited? Something dirty? Something powerful? Something that creates happiness? Or something that destroys it? Most of your beliefs didn't come from you. They came from your environment, from parents, teachers, friends, movies, news headlines, social media. If you grew up in a household where money was always scarce, you may have learned that wealth is reserved for other people. If you watched your family struggle financially, you may have decided that money is the answer to every problem. Either way, your relationship with money was shaped long before you understood it. And school rarely helps. Most people spend years learning subjects they'll never use while receiving almost no education on wealth creation, investing, entrepreneurship, or financial psychology. As a result, many enter adulthood carrying beliefs that actively work against them. One of the biggest is the idea that wealthy people are inherently bad. Think about how often successful business owners are portrayed as villains, greedy, arrogant, manipulative, corrupt. Of course, some wealthy people fit those descriptions, but so do some poor people. Character and bank balance are not the same thing. The reality is that many successful individuals started with very little. They built businesses, solved problems, created value, and over time, the market rewarded them. The more important lesson isn't whether rich people are good or bad. The lesson is that many of them operate using a completely different equation. Most people are taught this. Money equals time. Worked. Go to school. Get qualifications, find a job, work hard, earn money. That formula can absolutely provide stability. But if your goal is extraordinary wealth, it has limitations. Why? Because your most valuable resource is not money. It's time. Once time is spent, you never get it back. In a traditional job, income is usually tied directly to hours worked. More hours, more money. Fewer hours, less money. That arrangement places a ceiling on your earning potential because there are only so many hours in a day. No matter how talented you are, you cannot create more time. And that's where things begin to change. Part 2. How value really works. Here's an idea that may challenge what you've been told. The market does not pay you based solely on effort. It pays you based on perceived value. Think about it. Many people work incredibly hard. Construction workers, cleaners, warehouse employees. The effort is real. The exhaustion is real. Yet some professions earn significantly more despite requiring less physical strain. Why? Because compensation isn't determined only by effort. It's determined by value, scarcity, demand, and impact. The market rewards outcomes. If millions of people want a product, service, or skill, the value rises. If very few people can provide it, the value rises even further. That's why elite athletes, top surgeons, successful founders, and highly specialized experts can earn enormous sums. Their value is perceived as rare and impactful. Understanding this principle changes the question. Instead of asking, "How can I make more money?" you start asking, "How can I create more value?" That question leads somewhere far more interesting. Because money often follows value, and value often comes from solving problems. Part 3. The hidden opportunity. Look around you. Every business exists because a problem exists. Food delivery solves inconvenience. Streaming services solve accessibility. Ride-sharing solves transportation issues. Online education solves geographic barriers. Almost every successful company began with someone noticing friction in everyday life. Something annoying, something inefficient, something missing, then asking, "Can this be improved?" The larger the problem, the larger the opportunity. If you solve a small problem for a few people, you may earn a modest income. If you solve a meaningful problem for millions of people, the rewards can become extraordinary. This is where many people go wrong. They chase money directly. But money is often the result, not the cause. The entrepreneur who focuses only on money usually struggles. The entrepreneur obsessed with solving problems often creates value. And value attracts money. So pay attention. Listen carefully to the complaints around you. What frustrates people? What wastes their time? What costs them money? What do they wish existed? Where is the inefficiency? Every complaint is potential market research. Every frustration is a clue. Every inconvenience is an opportunity. Part 4. The power of scale. Now let's imagine you found a problem worth solving. The next question is critical. Can the solution scale? Scale is one of the most important concepts in wealth creation. Suppose you tutor students one-on-one. That's valuable. But your income depends on your presence. If you stop working, the income stops. Now imagine you create an online course. You build it once. Thousands of people can access it. The same effort reaches more people. That's scale. The internet has made scale more powerful than ever before. Software, digital products, media, platforms, communities. These can reach millions without requiring a physical location. The goal isn't merely to work harder. The goal is to create systems that continue producing value. Systems outperform effort over the long term. That's why successful businesses rely on processes, teams, automation, delegation. The founder eventually stops being the engine. The business becomes the engine. And that distinction matters. Because wealth rarely comes from doing everything yourself forever. It comes from building something larger than yourself. Part 5. When value compounds. If a business consistently solves a meaningful problem, something interesting happens. Value begins to compound. Customers tell friends, reputation grows, revenue grows, opportunities appear. Eventually, there may come a point where someone wants to acquire the business. Why? Because businesses that solve problems are valuable assets. That's how acquisitions happen. That's how founders create life-changing outcomes. Years of effort become concentrated into a single event. But selling isn't the only path. Many continue building. Some enjoy the mission. Others believe the company can become even more valuable. Some simply love the process. There is no universal answer. What matters is understanding what created the opportunity in the first place. Not luck, not magic, not wishful thinking, value, problem solving, scale. Execution. Part 6. What you really want. Now we arrive at the most important part of this entire discussion, because this was never really about money. Think about the things people say they want. A dream home, travel, more time with family, the ability to retire early, freedom from financial stress. Notice something? None of those are actually money. Money is simply the tool. The real desire is freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to explore, freedom to spend your days how you want, freedom from constant anxiety. That's what people are chasing. Money is often just the vehicle, and understanding that changes everything. Because once you realize freedom is the goal, you begin protecting the resource that matters most: time. Every major life decision starts looking different. You become more intentional, more selective, more aware. You stop measuring success only through income. You start measuring it through control over your life. Part 7. The final lesson. So what is the formula? It's not complicated, but it isn't easy. Create value. Solve problems. Think bigger than your own labor. Build systems. Learn continuously. Fail repeatedly. Improve relentlessly. Most people won't do these things, not because they're incapable, but because consistency is difficult. Rejection is difficult. Uncertainty is difficult. Yet every successful entrepreneur, creator, investor, and builder has walked through those challenges. They weren't guaranteed success. They simply stayed in the game long enough to improve. And that's the part most people never see. The failures, the experiments, the mistakes, the years of invisible work. Success is usually much less glamorous than it appears from the outside. But if you're willing to learn, adapt, and keep solving meaningful problems, you give yourself a chance. Not a guarantee. A chance. And sometimes that's all you need. Conclusion. If you remember only one idea from this video, let it be this. Stop obsessing over money. Start paying attention to problems, because every meaningful business, product, career, and opportunity begins there. The world rewards value. The market rewards solutions. And wealth is often the byproduct of creating enough of both. Whether you become wealthy or not, this mindset can change how you see work, opportunity, and life itself. Because in the end, the greatest asset was never money. It was time. Use it wisely.